Welcome to Talmudic Treasures. Today we're learning Sotah page 47, which provides a very interesting list of 3 different cases or situations where a person will always find chen, namely grace. Even if perhaps the situation that they're in is not the best one, they're always going to try to look in a more positive, upbeat, optimistic manner because of these 3 things, which are so psychologically important to a person that they do not want to think that they did something wrong. First of all, when it comes to where they live, even if their neighborhood may not be the best neighborhood in the world, or maybe they don't live in the nicest of homes, nonetheless, they're still going to try to be able to find something positive about their environment. And we can understand, because after all, you chose to live in this city. You were able to purchase or rent a particular property, so therefore you want to be able to make the best of that situation, especially that you spend so much time in your home. A second has to do with who your spouse is. Even though it's possible that you may not necessarily have the best spouse, as it's explained in commentary, their physical appearance, or in their general approach and attitude and their demeanor toward you. Nonetheless, in order to be able to live properly, you don't want to be able to think negatively about the person who you spend your entire life with. And therefore, you're going to always try to find that one positive thing, and that's what you're going to gravitate toward. And third, when it comes to any business transaction, even if maybe it looks like you got the short end of the stick, that this other person got the better deal, nonetheless, you're not going to want to feel that way. And therefore, for that reason, you're always going to look at it as, you know what, I think I did the right thing. And it's a very interesting psychological approach, telling us that this is actually a healthy way of thinking. A person who is living in a house, a person who has a spouse, a wife or husband, and a person who is engaged in business, if you constantly feel that you live in a terrible situation, you have a terrible marriage, and you have a terrible job, and you're constantly being tricked in business, so you will not ever have any form of peace of mind. And therefore, even though it may not necessarily even be true from an outsider looking in, nonetheless, to that person, they're going to want to psychologically feel that they are actually in good standing. And this is the reason why the Talmud tells us elsewhere, an interesting dispute between Beis Shammai and Hillel, that when it comes to a new bride, you're supposed to say, Ketzid Maratov Nekala, we say, Kala Nava Chasuda. We say, she's beautiful, she's amazing. On this Beis Shammai says, what are you talking about? What if she's not beautiful? How could you say that? Isn't that a lie? On this, interestingly enough, because these two are intertwined, they said if you have a business and a person gets a bad deal, should you tell them it's a bad deal? No. So what does that mean? Does that mean you're lying to them? No. Because for me on the outside looking into a relationship, I may look at it and say, wow, this poor guy, the way that his wife treats him, or this poor woman, the way this guy treats her. But in reality, they live in their own life. And therefore, you don't have the right to tell them that, you're in a terrible relationship. Because when you're doing that, you're breaking their mindset of how they really feel about one another. Just because you see something a certain way doesn't mean that's how the husband and wife view themselves. So even though you can't see their beauty, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And therefore, when it comes to this, as well as, again, business, when it comes to your home, you're going to try to find that which is positive. And I think this is telling us that, again, this is the proper outlook. You should always be optimistic. You should always try to find the good in everything. It's easy to look at your house and see, oh, this needs fixing. The neighbor's house is much better. And you could do that about your spouse. You could do that about your business. But the reality is you're not going to live a happy life. So a person who wants to be able to live a better life should be accepting and appreciative for the things that they have.